The car that launched the most exciting automotive brand in recent history is back, and it's better than ever. This is Inside China Auto, and this is the new Xiaomi SU7. Yes, this is the new Xiaomi SU7, the updated version of the car that kicked it all off for Xiaomi pretty much 2 years ago to the day. That car was so successful that they received 90,000 pre-orders within the first 24 hours, and it's gone on to sell over 250, maybe even 300,000 units in the last 2 years. Of course, they then launched the Ultra version of that car, an even more racy version of this that's now one of the fastest EVs around the Nürburgring, so revered that it's even in the Gran Turismo game. And then, of course, last year they launched the U7 SUV, even more successful than the SU7. So now 2 years later, they have updated the SU7, and as you can see, they haven't really changed much in terms of the styling. It looks basically the same. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the styling. Everything that can be said about the SU7 styling has already been said, but there are some key technical changes under the surface that you may not know about. So basics, we do have some new colours. This red is one of them, looks really good. We've now got a dark green and we've got a new blue as well. I believe the Dawn Pink has also joined from the U7. We also get new wheels. We've got 20-inch wheels on ours. You now get 19, 20 or 21-inch wheels. I like the 21-inch Plum Blossom wheels. I'll show you the clip of those over the top. And that's pretty much it for the styling changes, but we have very comprehensive changes under the surface. So let's get into those. Down here at the bottom, you'll see we've got a slightly redesigned grille. That is to accommodate a 4D radar at the bottom. That is now joined by the standard LiDAR unit. So this is now standard on all versions of the SU7. Both of those together with a new NVIDIA Thor-U chip with 700 TOPS of processing power now support Xiaomi's HAD autonomous driving system. Haven't really had a full drive of that. I have tried it up on the way here and it was very good, but of course I would like to do my full ADAS review on that at some point to really show just how good or how bad it is. But it's pretty good so far. I was quite impressed on the motorway. So those are the two main things in terms of the styling. Now on the U7, what they brought out was the ability to talk to the car in different ways, and they also had a powered frunk. We've got the same thing on our car. So, 小爱同学 打开前备箱. So there we go, we've now got a powered frunk, which is either voice activated, or you can press the button on the side, or you can do it with your app, or an app on your watch, or you can stand near the car and do it. You can do it on the screen of the car, you can talk to the car. 8 different ways apparently to open the frunk. And now it's also bigger than it was before at 105 litres, which if you are a Tesla Model 3 fan, you'll know is bigger than that is available on the Tesla Model 3. So we've now got this new powered front, which is great. I'll press the button to put that back down again. So loads of space in there. You can easily get a 20-inch carry-on case in there. Let's come around to the side a little bit and talk about what's down here. So the main changes along here are the door handles. They look the same as they did on the original SU7. Now you'll know, of course, there was a big controversy about an accident that happened last year and people not being able to get in. China's entire door handle rules have changed, that you now have to have mechanical door handles. So now we have that. We can do it electrically by just pressing the inside to release that, or we can now pull it mechanically like that. And in addition, Xiaomi has also now got triple redundancy on that as well. So they've got backups, 2 at the front and 1 in the middle to make sure the doors remain powered in the event of an accident that may wipe out any one of those systems. So they have solved that problem, which does seem to be a good thing. Now, as styling is the same all along the side. What we do get now at the rear is 265mm rear tyres as standard on all versions. They were 245 before, so they're now 2 centimetres wider. You may remember there were a lot of videos of Xiaomi SU7s crashing. They have updated the traction control to give it 40% more traction, so that may be allaying one of those problems. And of course, putting in the wider rear tyres also should help to solve any grip problems there as well. We do still, by the way, get this car in rear-wheel drive or in all-wheel drive. Another thing that we get is the suspension. So on the Pro and Max versions of this car, we now get dual chamber closed air suspension, also with continuous damping control. You can raise the ride height by 30mm or lower it by 20. And of course it will adapt as you're driving along as well to make sure that it goes lower on the highway. And it will also remember things like speed bumps and kind of vertical kind of car parks where it's a bit hard and you need to kind of raise the car a little bit. We've also got more improvements on the safety as well. So underneath the battery, which is kind of under here, they've now got a new cross member that protects that from damage at the bottom, like a skid plate, and they've now got a new bulletproof coating on the bottom as well. So these are all good things. We also get, by the way, as you can see, soft closed doors. I believe that's only on the Ultra version, sorry, not the Ultra, the Max version of this car, but everything else pretty much the same from the outside. Let's check out the back. Much like at the front, no real cosmetic changes here at the back. So we still get our iconic halo daytime running light across the back. Looks really good at nighttime. We can now, but by the way, get turquoise indicators to show that we are in autonomous driving mode, much like many other brands on the market. On the Pro and Max versions of the car, we get our electronically adjustable rear spoiler. Currently on the highest setting, you can set that manually or automatically over a certain speed. Pretty big diffuser down there at the bottom. Not sure it does too much in this current setup, but looks pretty racy. There's our larger rear wheels. We do now, by the way, get 4-pot fixed brake calipers on as standard on all versions of this car, and the braking has now been tuned to be more similar to that on the SU7 Ultra. Now, much like at the front, we can also talk to the car from the back. So, 小爱同学，打开后备箱。 So there you go. Electronically openable boot. You can do it with your voice, with your proximity key, or by pressing the button on the bumper down here. Slightly less space in the boot, down from about 505 litres to 493. They still haven't padded the top of it with kind of this felt stuff. They've only done that on the SU7 Ultra. Not sure why they haven't done it in here. You get a bit of extra space under the boot floor, bit shallower on the left, bit deeper on the right, but a useful amount of space. You can fold down the rear seats 40-60. Not sure how big it is once you've done that, but you do have to open them from inside the car. You can't do that from the back. So that's one little thing that is a bit of a miss on the SU7, but overall looks pretty good on the outside. Some of the bigger changes are on the inside. While the overall interior structure of the SU7 is pretty much the same as the original version, we get a few kind of cosmetic updates, some things to make it feel a bit more premium, and then a whole load of like new customizable features and technological improvements deeper under the surface as well. So cosmetically, for example, we've got a few new interior colors. We now get red, and we've got a purple interior color as well. We've got this cream with chocolate on the dashboard. Looks really nice. We get new door cards. We get new 3-tier ambient lighting, which gives you kind of a more premium feel at night time. Metal grates on our speakers that look really good. Little metal tags here on the door, and a metallic button for your door release as well. We also, by the way, get a really bright manual door release at the bottom of the door pocket there. So in the case of an accident, you can easily find a way out if any of those 3 redundant systems decide not to work. The main change really is here in the center console, where we've done away with our 4 manual buttons that we had. We've now got toggle switches instead for our temperature and our fan speed. These 2 on the right side are customizable. So for example, we've currently got them set up to adjust our rear spoiler or to adjust our suspension height. But again, you can customize different things for those. Our wireless charger, it's only 1, not 2, even though there is space for 2 phones, has been updated. It's now 80 watt and ventilated. It was previously only 50 watt in the original SU7. Again, customization is really all over the place. So the screen, our 16.1 inch 3K screen, I'll come onto that in a minute. We can still customize that with things like our tachymeter and our temperature at the top there, lights at the side, and more physical switches at the bottom. We now get the switches, the magnetic switches that we had in the U7, we can get those in the SU7 as well. You can stick those up there, on the back of the seat, on the center console here, and in various places around the car. You can customize these buttons to do different things, so you can press it once, or you can hold it down for 2 different functions per button. For example, you could stick it on the roof here and have it for your heated seat, to have your heated seat turn on, or your heating and your massage, for example, things like that. You can set it for the route to go home. If you have it in the back, you can do it for whatever people want to do in the back of the car. You can move those all over the place. They're really quite funky. We've also got upgrades to our mounting points on the dashboard. You may remember the SU7 debuted these cool mounting points for things like GoPros or for phone holders. The U7 improved on those by making them powered as well, up to 27 watts. So you get something like this in this box. That screws into there, and that allows you to power your phone up to 27 watts. You can do wireless phone chargers, or you can do GoPro mounts, as I said, 1/4 inch thread, so you can kind of film stuff in the car and do nice things on the inside. Now, another thing about the customization, the U7 brought in these animated characters on the hyper screen at the back of the dashboard. They've returned, the capybara and the otter. We've now got new characters, including this bird and this cat. And on the SU7, they've introduced, and you're going to think I'm pretty mad showing you this, but I'm going to show it you anyway. They've introduced these plushies. Yeah, bit cringeworthy for some of the guys out there. Apparently some girls really like these just because they're nice to have around the cockpit. You can hang them on the metallic points like that, and apparently if you put them in a certain place, it changes your character on the screen to the plushie that you've put in that position. I haven't worked out how to do that yet, but again, nice little feature for kids or ladies, or maybe even guys that just like having soft toys around the place. A little bit weird for many people, but nevertheless I'm going to show it to you anyway. So our 16.1 inch screen here runs on the Hyper operating system. I believe we've got a Snapdragon chip in here, would be my guess. Lovely slick system. You can move these tabs across and resize them as you like, or you can put your maps and make those nice and big on there. You can swipe your ventilation across the bottom, but of course we've got our manual switches here for that if you prefer. It is of course compatible with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, one of the most adaptable systems, let's say, the most useful systems for both of those operating systems as you prefer. We also still get our rotating screen ahead of the driver that rotates when the car turns on, and that changes. All the little menus and graphics change to look a bit cooler via the drive mode button here on the screen. As I said, you can customize a load of stuff in this car. So for example, we've got a head-up display, and you can customize all of that in the menu here. So you can change it to show you maps, you can change it to show you ADAS graphics, you can change it to show you tire pressures, you can put in different things like navigation, speed, range, all kinds of things to basically have the information that you want. Xiaomi's are really good at doing this in terms of customizing things exactly to the way that you like. So cool stuff there in terms of all the screens and the tech. The seats, these have been improved. So as a limited time offer, all versions of the car now come with 18-way adjustable front seats. What that means is we now get base cushion extension, great. We also get adjustable side bolsters. We can make these bigger or smaller, and they are active, I believe, on the driver's seat, maybe on the passenger seat, but definitely on the driver's seat. So when you go around a corner, the outside one will inflate to kind of hold you more in place. These are actually, I mean, they are comfortable seats. They've made them slightly wider. So the side bolsters, these are quite good. They do feel quite sporty. The overall driving position, slightly higher than I would prefer, so I was trying to get it as low as I could. This is as low as I can get, so I'd like to be a little bit more embedded than this, but overall the reach is pretty decent on the steering wheel. It's not manual, it is electronic via the system there, but yeah, it's a decent driving position. Once you get used to it, it's quite good, but I'd like to be slightly lower down. That's the one thing that I would change about this. I should also add that the front passenger seat with the 18-way adjustability does actually come with a zero gravity mode. Speakers, they're up. So we originally got 10 on the standard and pro versions of the car. We now get 14 speakers on both of those, so 4 additional speakers. The Max version that we have gets the 25 speaker sound system that we got on the Max version of the U7 as well. And again, loads of other little features around here. So the ones that you can't see are under the dashboard here. We get a fragrance pop pack down there. You can get a walkie-talkie pack that you stick down there. There's a torch you can stick under here. All kinds of funky little accessories all over the place, of course, from Xiaomi to make your driving experience just a bit more pleasurable. In terms of space, decent space in the doors, big chunky space down there, quite a deep glove box. I mean, that goes really far back, much like it did on the U7. So you can probably get a few laptops in there if you decide to carry several laptops around with you. And we've got a bit of space in the middle here as well. Another thing that we've changed, we get eco leather on the standard and pro versions. The Max versions get Napa leather, so we've got the nice soft stuff, and on the steering wheel as well. Heating and ventilation is standard on the front seats. Massage is optional. We get microfiber in the roof lining, which is lovely, and as I mentioned, those metal grates on the door speakers that do feel quite nice. It's lovely and soft. I mean, there's soft touch materials all over the place, so it does feel really premium in here. One cool thing is this. So we've now got a twin panoramic sunroof. So it's dimmable, and they're dimmable separately as well. So you can change the dimming level on this one different to that in the back. So if you want to be more dimmed for passengers in the rear, for your kids, for example, in the back seat, have it nice and wide open on the front, you can do that. You can do it via voice, or you can do it via the system. It will change from transparent to fairly opaque within about 2 minutes. And that is double silver coated. The windscreen is triple silver coated, designed to kind of make the, reduce the UV rays getting into the car. We've also got, by the way, laminated glass on the front and rear doors as well, and the windscreen. Sound, I would say it's still not quite as quiet in the cabin on the move as you would maybe like. A little bit more noise, I would say, from the base of the windscreen. It's just not quite as refined as some cars that I've driven recently, possibly because we get frameless doors. But yeah, it's very quiet in here. It's just a little bit louder than in some other cars. But overall, I mean, the seats are really nice. The interior is really lovely here in the front. I think I've covered everything from the front. I have. So let's go in the back. Cosmetic changes in the back, pretty much the same as those in the front. Ambient lighting, metal grates on your speakers, metallic buttons, just to make the whole thing feel a bit more premium. We do get wider seat bolsters in the back to give you a bit more space for your back. The seating position itself is pretty good. We get a really long base cushion, great thigh support, loads of knee room. Admittedly, foot space is quite tight if that seat is as low as it will go. Headroom also slightly tight. My hair's just tickling the glass there, so if you're a bit taller than me, you might feel slightly cramped in the back of the car. But overall, it is quite nice, and the bright colour on the glass does make it feel a bit more airy in here. We do get some big changes though down here in the middle. The main one is our centre screen, which is now a removable phone-like device with your animated characters on there. You can change your ventilation, you can put your heated seats on in the rear, you can talk to the car of course if you prefer, but you can do that via the screen if you like. You can move that front seat out the way if you want more leg room, change your maps and do your music on there at the same time. If you want to watch videos, you'll probably have to do that with tablets. Thankfully, you can mount those and connect them to the car via these things here. You can do Xiaomi tablets, Android, or iPads. They all connect to the same ecosystem, so you can all watch and listen to the same stuff, or do your own thing as you prefer. We have got big changes to our fridge. I believe it's still 8.4 litres, but it now goes down to -6 degrees, so you can put ice creams in there. You couldn't do that with the original SU7. Of course, it still goes up to 50 degrees, so you can keep food warm or milk for your baby, things like that as well. We get twin USB-C sockets, twin umbrella holders, twin cup holders in the armrest here. We get really good Isofix mountings, dead easy access those, absolutely love those. And of course, with those new magnetic buttons and the plushies, you get mounting points on the seat, on the center console there, and on the B pillar as well. So you can hang your little creatures all over the car as you like. So quite functional in the back, plenty of practical little things, no massive changes, but some good stuff in here. They've made changes to the drivetrain and the battery though, so it's time to take it for a drive. So I'm going to be honest from the get-go, the driving impressions are going to be a little bit more limited in this video than they normally would be, because we've only done a bit of urban and a bit of highway driving today. We were looking forward to trying out a mountain road up here in Beijing. If you ever get a chance, by the way, do try out the mountain roads in Beijing. They're fantastic. But sadly, it did start snowing on the way up here. This is the skiing area up in Chongli where we're driving this car, and the road is a bit icy, so they're a bit cautious about letting some lead-footed journalists drive around in fast, powerful cars on icy roads. And to be honest, that is fair. It is a recipe for a disaster, letting us do that. But what I will say is, having driven a few different models recently since driving the last Xiaomi SU7, I would say it's not quite as precise as some other models. So I think a Tesla will still give you far more precision in terms of the steering. A Polestar might also feel a little bit more precise. Nevertheless, it's still one of the most engaging cars on the Chinese market. You can adjust the steering, make it a bit heavier, but it is actually really quite engaging. As I said, just not quite as precise as some of those other models. We do, of course, now get the air suspension, which has proven itself to be pretty good on the choppy bits that we've found so far. Again, most of the roads have been quite good, but it's ridden over speed bumps really well and any choppy roads that we've driven on. So again, good comfort from the suspension. I want to talk about the changes to the drivetrains and the batteries, because that's probably where the biggest difference is between this and the previous SU7. So now the standard and pro versions get the Hyper V6S motor. That's been upgraded from 21,000 RPM to 22,000 RPM. So that's 235 kilowatts, 315 horsepower, 505 Newton meters of torque. That's on the rear axle. It will do, in the standard version, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 5.28 seconds, and in the Pro version, which has a bigger battery and a bit more kit, so is a bit heavier, 5.7 seconds. So the middle version in the range is actually the slowest, funnily enough. The Max version that we get gets a pair of those V6S engines, so that's 508 kilowatts in total, that's 681 horsepower and 866 Newton meters of torque, which is rabidly quick. Previously, Xiaomi measured acceleration with a rollout. So the last max version of this was about 2.78 or 2.88 seconds, 0 to 100. They've changed that now. They've taken the rollout out, so it's now from a standing start. So that's why the speed has now gotten slower to 3.08 seconds. Still a bit quicker than a Model 3 Performance, which is 3.1 seconds. So marginally quicker, but yeah, now it's without the rollout. I think Tesla might still include the rollout in theirs. I'm not totally sure about that. So yeah, blisteringly quick. Of course, we've now got these wider tires. We've got additional improved traction control. So this car should be quite a bit more manageable, particularly for the ordinary driver, which of course caught a few people out with the first one. Now, let's talk about the batteries. We get 3 different batteries as well. So the standard version gets a 73 kilowatt hour LFP pack. That is good for 720 kilometers of range on the CLTC cycle, so take it with a 25% grain of salt, I would say, and that will charge from 10 to 80% in about 20 minutes. The middle version, the Pro, that gets a 96.3 kilowatt hour battery. That's good for a 902 kilometer range on the CLTC cycle. So those motors are proving to be more efficient. They're getting more range out of this car with roughly similar battery sizes. That one's also LFP, by the way, will also do 10 to 80% in 20 minutes and has about 337 kilowatt DC fast charging. The max version that we have gets the biggest battery of the lot at 101.7 kilowatt hours. This is an NMC battery, so it does charge faster, 10 to 80% in just 12 minutes, and we'll get 835 kilometers of range on the CLTC cycle. Now, obviously haven't had enough time with the car to really do a comprehensive test of that. According to the system, over the last 121 kilometers, we're averaging about 20.5 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. I'm not sure what the claimed range for the max is. For the standard, apparently it can do as little as 11.7 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is a little bit more than a Model 3, but they're getting closer. So the efficiency of those motors is improving, and of course the aero and things like that all contribute to it. So overall, it's a really nice car to drive. It remains engaging. Of course, I'd love to have driven it through the mountains. Maybe at some point in the future I'll get a chance to do something more engaging like that. But it's also really quite refined. The air suspension is good. It's ridden well over the roads that we've had so far. To be fair, they've been mostly good, but we've been over a few speed bumps and a few choppy bits, and it rides quite nicely. There are some cars that will kind of iron out everything, like a Li Auto still for me is the kind of the creme de la creme of the best riding suspension, but of course that's not as engaging to drive as the SU7 is. Now, in terms of, I'll tell you what, I'll come on to the safety first before I go into the prices, because safety has been improved as well. I should have mentioned this in the back seat. We now get 9 airbags, so there's now 2 airbags additionally on the side in the rear seats, and it has been tested up to what they believe should be a 5-star score on Euro NCAP. Of course, the first one did get a 5-star CNCAP score. Obviously, Euro NCAP will test this when this car goes abroad, and ANCAP should be pretty similar as well. So it should be up to the highest safety standards. Now, prices, we don't have any prices yet. This car is being officially launched in about a week. So as and when this video goes out, that should be about the same time. I'll put the prices in the top comment. We're expecting them to be roughly the same as the original SU7, so starting at about 225 to 235,000 RMB. That in pounds is roughly 23 to 24,000 pounds, so an absolute steal if you could get it for that price in the UK. Of course you won't, it'll probably be twice the price. Honestly, it's probably worth twice the price if you're buying this in the UK. Overall, a fantastic car. I'd like to say it's really engaging because I'd like to drive it around the mountains again, but I haven't had the chance today. But it does seem like they've done lots of incremental improvements to make this car a more comprehensive package. As I said, my only real gripe is that I'd like to sit a little bit lower in the car. I mean, we do get plenty of base cushion adjustment, to be honest. We get good base cushion angle. It's just that, I mean, to be fair, the seat probably can't go any lower because you can see how little toe room I have sat in the back of the car. But I'd just like to be just a little tiny bit lower, and I could probably maneuver it a little bit by making the backrest lower, but then I'm a bit further away from the steering wheel. It's not uncomfortable. I'm just saying that there are, I would say, probably a Polestar has a better adjustability and makes you feel a little bit lower in the car. But it is really nice, this lovely car. It remains absolutely fantastic. One other thing I should mention as well, the top speed has also been increased on this car. Previously, it was 210 kilometers per hour on the standard and pro versions. That's now up to 240, and the max version has now been lifted to 265 kilometers per hour as well. I suspect maybe looking at a launch in Germany where you can obviously go as fast as you like on the highways. So they're kind of unleashing that. Maybe they're more confident as well with the improved traction control. There is a feature on this car, by the way, that detects when the road is wet, and it will kind of come up on your screen. You can press a button on there, and that will kind of also improve your traction control, maybe soften some of your inputs a little bit, make you a bit more predictable while you're driving. This car, I think, because of the improved traction control and the wider rear tires, should make it a more manageable car, particularly for people who are not, trained racing drivers, and hopefully we'll see a few less of the accidents that flooded social media to begin with. But yeah, I do think the incremental improvements have made this a better car overall. It's lovely and refined, rapidly quick, and remains just as fun as ever. So that's it for our review of the new Xiaomi SU7, or to be more accurate, the heavily updated Xiaomi SU7. Let's not forget, Xiaomi had a great product fresh out the blocks when they came storming into the market 2 years ago. They had a car that was technologically right at the front of the pack, and one that was genuinely fun to drive, something really rare in the Chinese market. What they've done with this update is really bring it up to speed with the Xiaomi U7, so the additional customization, the gadgets inside the cabin, the front that you can open. More importantly, they've learned all the lessons from their very first car, the things they've been criticized for over the last 2 years, things like the safety with the door handles and the traction control with the wider rear tires, and basically just made a far more polished product that is really ready to now go into international markets when Xiaomi starts entering other countries in 2027. They've now got a really, really great product ready to go to the market in those countries. And of course, we don't know about the prices yet. They're going to come out roughly next week. They'll be pinned in the top comment. But if they're roughly the same as what they were for the first car, I think it will really start to generate a lot of new interest in this car once more. And of course, a lot of people outside of China already want this car. So yeah, really good update, fantastically polished product now. Thank you very much for watching. If you do, thank you for subscribing. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up so more people can see the great cars coming out of China. And as ever, we'll catch you next time.